7 spine-chilling sleepover horror stories. Discover the sinister secrets that haunt us all. The night air hung thick around Emma's house, a cheerful white structure flanked by neat rows of dogwoods. Yet inside, something sinister brewed. Anticipation crackled, but beneath the light-hearted chatter of her friends, the fear loomed like a shadow. It was supposed to be a night of nostalgia, a reprieve from high school stress. But old memories have a way of resurfacing, and this time, they weren't all sweet. Emma's dad, a revered police officer, stoked the flames of unease with tales of the Whistler, a local urban legend that prowled the streets, feeding on the suburbs' darkest fears. As he spoke, a chill wrapped around the room, extinguishing giggles and igniting apprehension. He comes at night, whistling softly, creeping through the cracks of safety, he warned, each word hanging like a ghostly specter. They all laughed, dismissing it as just another haunting tale, until the wind howled outside, rattling the windows. A sudden silence filled the room, thick and heavy, punctuated only by an ominous sound that slipped through their laughter, an unmistakable whistle, echoing from the depths of the basement. Emma's heart raced. The room seemed to shrink around them. Relax. It's just the wind. Someone tried to joke, but their laughter came out hollow. The power flickered low, shadows danced on the walls as if sharing secrets only they could understand. Just when Emma thought they would shake the anxious energy, an urgent ping from her phone shattered the eerie stillness, an escaped convict from the asylum down the road. Panic coursed through them like ice water. Was the Whistler real? Could fear and madness walk hand in hand, weaving through the very streets they called home? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. They leaned in, whispers dancing between them, half believing that letting a little darkness in might just cover up their worries. But instead of comfort, deeper truths surfaced. Unspoken tensions spilled over like an overflowing cup. Emma locked eyes with her friends, and it felt like the Whistler's cold breath was already chilling their bonds. Accusations slipped like shadows at dusk, each memory tainted with distrust. And then, like a flicker in a movie, Emma's dad vanished into the darkened hall. Hadn't he been warning them about danger? A sinister thought crossed through Emma's mind. Did her protective figure have a link to the Whistler? Suddenly, the figures of comfort twisted into something else, something menacing. They could feel time slipping because the music of safety turned into a haunting tune played in the dark. Just as clarity faded, there it echoed again, the whistle. Closer this time, chillingly near. Emma's breath caught, and their secrets hung like heavy drapes, blocking out the light, warping everything. What if they were never safe at all? In the race of heartbeats and uncertainty, a dreadful realization dawned. The night wasn't just about haunting stories. It was a fight against something much more real, pulling them into a darkness they wouldn't escape. Would they face the truth together, or become fodder for the Whistler's legend? The answer loomed, as the night deepened and the world outside disappeared altogether. The whistle sounded again, burrowing deep into Emma's mind. It was closer, echoing through the walls, a ghostly melody wrapping around them like a grip of ice. The room chilled, breaths quickening as dread pooled in their stomachs. What was that? Jenna's voice wavered, barely a whisper. Before anyone could answer, Emma bolted up, instinctual bravery coursing through her veins. I'll check it out, she declared, though uncertainty gnawed at her. Her friends stared wide-eyed, frozen between fear and the flimsy veil of courage. Don't, Sarah cried, her voice slicing through the tension. What if it's the Whistler? Emma hesitated, glancing at the basement door looming before them, a shadowy maw that promised secrets and horrors unknown. I can't stay here. With her heart hammering, she turned and crept towards the door, each step an act of defiance against the fear gnawing at her resolve. The others followed, forming a trembling line behind her, their faces painted in shades of apprehension. Emma reached for the doorknob, its cold metal seeping into her skin. If we don't confront it, we'll only make it worse, she muttered, convincing herself more than anyone else. With a deep breath, she twisted the knob and pushed the door open. A scent of damp earth and decay wafted up, punctuated by silence that set her on edge. The basement stretched into darkness, layers of memories and shadows mingling with the suffocating hold of fear. "Anyone home?" she called, her voice echoing, piercing the stillness. A low creak responded from the depths, sending shivers skittering down her spine. Fumbling for the light switch, she cursed under her breath it wasn't working. "Can someone grab their phone?" Sarah shuffled closer, illuminating the space with her trembling hand, the weak light revealing dusty old boxes and half-broken furniture, but no Whistler. The whistle came again, clear and sharp, now definitely inside the basement. It vibrated off the walls, wrapping around their ears like an eerie lullaby. Lights flickered, and Emma held her ground, though panic fluttered in her chest. What if it's just a trick? Just a story? But Jenna's anxious gulp cut through the air. Stories come from somewhere. Emma, maybe it's true. As the darkness thickened, Emma considered the legend's history and felt as if they were part of a twisted narrative. Was it her imagination, or was a figure shifting at the very edge of her vision? The shadows scattered, retreating to the far corners of the basement. Then, from behind the boxes, something moved fluid and cold. Heart racing, Emma squinted, trying to make out the form. A chill brushed against her cheek, an icy breath that hinted at the unseen. "Did you see that?" she stammered, desperate eyes darting to her friends, hoping for validation. Instead, she found only shock mirrored in their fear-twisted faces. It was too late for jokes, too late for laughter. They all felt it. Something ancient and predatory slithered through the air, and it was hungry. "Get out. Now!" Emma shouted, panic spilling over as she shoved her friends toward the door. They stumbled, confusion and dread deepening with each hurried step backward. But just as they reached the threshold, Sarah's scream shattered the night. She pointed, voice trembling. "Look!" In a flash of dim light, Emma saw it, a dark shape, twisted and hollow-eyed, hunched near the far wall, locking its gaze onto them. The Whistler had come home. With adrenaline surging, Emma propelled herself and her friends out of the basement, slamming the door and locking it behind her. They leaned against the wall, gasping, pulse pounding in their ears. But beneath their breaths, a new whistle curled through the night, a taunting promise echoing from the door. It wouldn't end here. Emma could feel it. Tonight was just the beginning. What had they invited into their home? And who would survive when the Whistler came back for more? Emma pressed her back against the door, heart thundering in her chest. The sound still echoed in her mind, the whistle slicing through her thoughts like a blade. Shivering, she looked over at her friends, their faces a canvas of sheer panic. "Did you see it?" Jenna whispered, eyes wide, darting around as if the Whistler might jump out at them any second. Sarah's voice quivered. "We should call for help. Someone needs to know about this." "No phone will help," Emma snapped, her nerves flaring. "That thing, whatever it is, it doesn't follow rules. We have to figure this out ourselves." The air felt thick, suffocating. They huddled close together, the shadows creeping around them, whispering uninvited dread into their ears. Moisture dripped from the ceiling, pooling near their feet like a dark omen. "What if it gets in?" Jenna's voice trembled, breaking the silence. "What if we let it out by coming down here?" Emma shot a glance at the basement door, her fingers twitching at her side. What if it was wrong? What if their curiosity sealed their fate? But the Whistler was real. She had heard it. It was probably listening now. Her thoughts raced to thoughts of escape, but a strange certainty gripped her. "If we're going to end this, we need to know what we're up against," Emma urged, struggling to maintain her composure. "We need to go back down and find something, anything that tells us more about it." "Are you insane?" Sarah cried, eyes wide with fear. "You just saw it, Emma. We should run." "And where would we run?" Emma snapped back, frustration bubbling over. "It'll find us, no matter where we go." The light from Sarah's phone flickered ominously. In its glow, Emma's hand reached for the doorknob. She felt sick, but she wouldn't let fear win. Not now. Before she could lose her nerve, she opened the door a crack, the hinges groaning in protest. The darkness loomed beyond, heavy and unwelcome. With a shared glance, Jenna and Sarah pressed in closer, as if trying to forge a shield against the unseen. "Just a peek," Emma whispered, steeling herself as she edged the door open wide enough for them to slip through. The basement air hit them like a gust of icy wind, smelling of mold and aged wood. "Stay together," Jenna urged as they shuffled inside, the beam from Sarah's phone cutting through the dark. The light danced over the walls, illuminating bolts of shadow that seemed to stretch and swing away. The whistle echoed again, but this time it was closer. Emma felt it in her bones, thought she could almost reach out and touch its lingering chill. "What are we looking for?" Sarah's voice quaked, panic rising with each step deeper down. "Anything, it has to be here," Emma replied, fear biting at her composure. "We need to find a clue, something about the Whistler." The basement stretched around them, revealing an old workbench cluttered with tarnished tools and rotten wood. Boxes overflowed, filled with forgotten memories. Emma rummaged through them, her fingers trembling as they brushed over dust-covered tomes. Then, she felt that the air shifted. The whistle morphed into a slow, haunting melody, weaving between the silence. Pausing, Emma turned, and though the light flickered ominously, there was something in the shadows, a shape, subtle yet unnerving. "Can you see that?" Jenna clutched Sarah's arm, making it a lifeline as they anchored together, breaths catching in their throats. That it grew nearer, a dark outline moving, stretching toward them. "It's here," Emma breathed, paralyzed by a mix of terror and revelation. What was the Whistler waiting for? As if sensing their fear, it paused, its hollow eyes glinting in the dim light. From the dark, a whisper broke the stillness. "Play with me." Emma's heart sank. It was a trap, an invitation masked in innocence. And then nothing could prepare them for the chilling laughter that followed, a sound that promised them none would leave unchanged. "Run!" Emma screamed as the laughter shattered the air, but the basement door slammed shut behind them, and the shadows thickened, enveloping them with icy fingers. What would they face in the dark? And would the Whistler's game decide their fate? The laughter echoed in the cramped space, reverberating off the concrete walls like a sinister melody. Emma and her friends were frozen, terror coursing through them as shadows coiled tighter around their limbs. The air turned colder, their breath misting in front of them like ghosts escaping their lips. "Get away from the door," Jenna shrieked, instinctively pulling Sarah back as if proximity could save them. The black mass slithered closer, undulating in the dim beam of Sarah's flickering phone. Emma's heart hammered louder, drowning out the laughter, the Whistler's chilling invitation crawling under her skin. "Where is it?" Emma mumbled, scanning the perimeter, her eyes darting from one corner to another. Every inch of the room felt alive, pulsating with concealed horrors. They needed an escape, but the door was their only exit, and it was sealed by an unseen force. "Emma, we need to hide," Sarah urged, her voice teetering on the brink of madness. "We can't just stand here." But where could they hide? Panic washed over Emma. A flicker of movement caught her eye, a small dark room at the far end of the basement, just beyond the flickering light. "Over there," Emma pointed, hoping they could find shelter. They rushed toward it, but the shadows shifted, closing in behind them. The laughter now morphed into a dissonant harmony that scraped against their minds. As they stumbled into the makeshift room, they beheld a wall lined with old photographs, their fading edges curling like the whispers that chased them. In each picture, children smiled, grinning faces that seemed to mock their horror, eyes glinting with a knowing secret. Strange symbols were written along the edges, jagged and alien. "Emma, what are these?" Jenna whispered, tracing a finger over one of the photographs, her face pale in the wavering light. "I don't know," Emma replied, unease settling like a weight in her stomach. They could hear the Whistler, its mocking softening to a taunting whisper. "Play with me forever." Their blood ran cold. Emma remembered a story an old woman in the town used to tell, the one about a spirit who lured children with music and laughter, trapping their souls in endless games. She never believed it, until now. Those kids, what happened to them? Sarah's voice trembled, and it felt as if the room had grown heavier, air thick with dread. But even as dread sank in, the photographs began to change, faces mutated into twisted grins, mouths stretching wider, eyes screaming in silence. The air crackled with something dark, something that wanted them, no, needed them. "Stay." Play. The Whistler's voice was sweet poison. "Emma, we can't stay here," Jenna cried, jerking back from the wall, but it was too late. Shadows surged around them, black tendrils reaching, dragging them toward the dark heart of the room. "Fight it!" Emma shouted, adrenaline spurring action as she pushed against the void, desperation giving her strength. But the presence was insatiable, gripping her with icy fingers. The shadows danced, wild and taunting. "Find the way out, find the clues," Emma urged her friends. "There has to be something." She glanced back, despair washing over her. They were losing each other, slipping into the darkness line by line. And just when she thought all was lost, a surge of light illuminated a pile of old books in the corner, their spines cracked and faded, words barely legible. "Over there." Emma pointed to the glimmering chance of salvation. "Get them." Jenna and Sarah scrambled toward the books, but the shadows hissed, their thoroughly melodic voices rising in a sinister chorus, drowning out any hope they clung to. Emma's heart raced, her mind racing with flashes of frantic thoughts. Was she the last thread holding them together? What if this doesn't work? Jenna whispered, fear written all over her face. "Just trust me," Emma shouted, her voice igniting a thin spark of courage in those two fading embers. They grabbed the book's maybes, just maybe. They could summon the truth to combat this evil lurking around them. But the shadows loomed closer, their whispers roiling around them, threatening to drown their sanity as the room pulsed like a living thing. "Are you ready to play?" The whistler crooned, and the darkness pressed in tighter, the laughter churning like an angry abyss. Just a moment, a brief chance, a clue that could change everything. Or perhaps seal their fates, forever bound to the whistler's unholy game. Would the fragile flicker of knowledge be enough to combat the hungry darkness? Or was there no escape from the ever-tightening grip of fear? Emma's hands trembled as she grabbed the nearest book, its leather cover cold and slick with age. The shadows hissed louder, the walls throbbing as if the room itself was alive, feeding off their fear. Sarah and Jenna clutched their books too, panic radiating from them like heat from a flame. "Quick, open them," Emma urged. As they flipped the brittle pages, the air thickened, choking them with a suffocating darkness. The inked words twisted before their eyes, curling off the pages like smoke. Each passage revealed tales of despair, terror, and the whistlers passed a malevolent spirit that thrived on children's laughter while stealing their souls. Innocent games turned fatal echoes of laughter doomed to linger. Emma read aloud, her voice echoing off the walls. With each revelation, the laughter warped, losing its whimsy, diving deep into a grotesque cacophony of cursed joy. The whispers intensified, clawing at their sanity. "Play with us, forever stop. Get out of our heads," Jenna shouted, slamming her palm against the wall. The rush of her voice seemed to momentarily silence the sounds, but only for a heartbeat. Emma flipped through her book furiously. Then she saw something, a symbol that matched those framing the photographs. It pulsated, glowing faintly. This is a protection sign." "Protection?" Sarah echoed, her eyes wide. "How do we use it?" Emma's heart raced as she tried to recall the faded memories of the old woman's tale. "We need to draw it right here." She pointed to the wall, within the dark, pulsating mass of shadow. But Jenna stammered, holding her book defensively as she backed away from the looming void. "Just do it," Emma snapped, her voice breaking. "We have to fight back." With trembling hands, Emma took a piece of charcoal from the ruined texture of the wall and began to recreate the symbol, a jagged crescent intersecting a spiral. The moment the last stroke was completed, a burst of light suddenly erupted from the mark, illuminating the entire room with a blinding glare that forced the anguished shadows to recoil. "Keep going," Sarah shouted, joining Emma in dragging charcoal across the concrete. As the symbol grew, the malevolent laughter turned feral, the whistler's voice drowning in a rage that reverberated through the basement. "You'll regret this. You can't escape." The shadows writhed, feeling the power shift, their form contorting and slashing through the air. Just as they finished, the ground trembled violently beneath them, the dark mass screaming as if in an embrace of unbearable agony. The walls began to shake, dust raining down. "Run!" Emma yelled, grabbing Jenna's and Sarah's hands. They dashed toward the door, but it was no longer sealed. The shadows shrieked as they dashed for freedom, scrambling in a blind panic out into the hallway. But the laughter still echoed in their ears, a sickly sweet lullaby pursuing them down the corridor. You can't leave, you're only beginning to play. They stumbled into the main floor, heartbeats echoing in sync as they pushed open a door, spilling into the moonlit night just outside the basement. But as the cool air hit them, they froze. Not far away, silhouettes loomed against the moonlight. Children, grinning, their eyes devoid of life. "Play with us," they whispered, their voices a haunting harmony, each syllable a dagger in the night. Emma's throat dried up, dread creeping slowly into her chest. "What do we do now?" Jenna gasped, shoulders trembling. "We can't let them near us. We have to." Suddenly, the sound of a soft whistle echoed through the trees nearby, slicing through the night air. Run. But would escape even be possible, or had they already lost the game before it began? Their feet scrambled across the damp grass, the thrill of terror fueling their flight. Emma darted ahead, dragging Jenna and Sarah behind. The shadows cast by the bare branches of the trees seemed to claw at them as they ran, whispering their terrible secrets. The children's grinning faces flickered in and out of visibility, moving closer with each passing second. "Why are they out here?" Sarah gasped, her breath hitching. "What do they want?" "Just keep running," Emma shouted, adrenaline pushing her forward. She didn't dare look back. That whistle rang out again, soft and sinister, sending chills spiraling down their spines. It coiled around them, wrapping them tighter in fear as they sprinted through the thicket. The trees pressed in closer, as if they were being funneled into a trap. Suddenly, the air shifted. It thickened, weighed them down like a lead blanket. Jenna stumbled, nearly falling, and Emma caught her. "We can't stop. We can't." But the sound of children's laughter zeroed in on them, sharp and shrill, a morbid retort to their panic. "Come play with us," the voices echoed around them, reverberating in the hollow spaces of the night. Emma glanced back, eyes widening as those haunting silhouettes began to shift, swirling unnaturally, almost like living smoke. They began to move with impossible speed, their movements frenzied. "What the hell?" Emma screamed. "They're getting closer. They don't feel real." Jenna cried, terror evident in her shaky voice. "It's like they're not even alive." "Then we'll outsmart them," Emma said, her heart hammering like a lunatic's drum as she veered left around a gnarled tree trunk, yanking Sarah and Jenna with her. But the shadows adapted. They split, some darting ahead to block the way while others lingered just behind, laughter echoing from both fronts. The feeling of being hunted sunk in like ice in Emma's veins. "Over here," Sarah shouted. She had caught sight of a dilapidated shed, its door hanging crookedly. "We could hide." No other option loomed in her mind, and Emma led the charge toward the shed. They flung the door wide open and stumbled inside, boots scraping against rotting wood. "Shut it," Emma hissed, glancing back as they closed the door. The darkness wrapped around them, a thick blanket that swallowed the light seeping through the cracks. The air inside felt stagnant, hardly breathable. A musty smell invaded their senses, decay mingled with something sweet and sticky, like spilled candy left to rot. Emma's heart thudded as she glanced around the room, barely making out shapes of old furniture, cobwebs glinting like evil promise in the dark. "Did we lose them?" Sarah whispered, her voice cracking. Emma held her breath, waiting, listening. But the whispering laughter crept closer, the faint whistle curling around like smoke, seeping in through the cracks. "Get back," Jenna whimpered, taking a step backward, her footing slipping on the invalid ground. Before they could react, the door burst open, slamming against the wall with a force that rattled the ground beneath them. The silhouettes flooded in, their expressions twisted and gnarled, malicious joy twisted in every smile. "We were waiting," they sang. "Playtime starts now." Emma swallowed. The scream caught in her throat as they backed away, despair swelling in the pit of her stomach. There was nowhere left to go. "Emma, think," Sarah cried out, clutching her shotgun resolve. "What do we do?" A quick glance towards the window revealed the moonlight spilling in, and an idea sparked. "The symbol. We need to make the sign. But where?" The shadows pressed in, filling every corner, every space. They could feel the presence thickening, suffocating. As Emma scrabbled to find something, anything to draw with, foul whispers danced around her, taunting and teasing. "Time to play," and that s when they heard it, a deep, echoing cackle, one that seemed to ripple through time itself. Play forever. What would happen next? Would they manage to outsmart the shadows, or had the whistler already claimed them? The answer teetered on the edge of discovery. The shadows surged forward, their laughter enveloping the shed in a sound that turned Emma's blood to ice. She fumbled through the dust, frantic, clawing at the rotten wood beneath her. Her fingers skimmed over something cold and metallic, a rusted metal object. "Here," she gasped, holding it up. It was an old nail, bent and battered. "It'll have to do. Is that enough?" Jenna's voice trembled as her wide eyes darted nervously. "Just trust me," Emma said, her own confidence flickering like a distant candle. With the nail pressed against the sturdy floorboard, she drew a symbol, a crude star fueled by desperation. She could feel the specters inching closer, the stale air brimming with their eagerness for chaos. "Where's the light?" Sarah whispered, her heart racing as shadows crawled over the walls, reaching out. "I don't know," Emma shot back, panic rising. "Maybe we." Just at that moment, the laughter crescendoed, shrill and incoherent, spiraling until it broke. A rush of air blasted into the shed as the grotesque figures began to morph, their features sharpening into grotesque masks of joy. "We want to play," one of the children hissed, voice dripping with malevolence. "Join us, stay back," Emma yelled, shoving the nail harder against the floor, hoping the crude mark would do something, anything. But the dark figures merely laughed, swirling around them like a cyclone of despair. Sarah stumbled, tears glistening in her eyes. "Emma, please, just a little more," Emma shouted, determination surging through her veins. The symbol glowed faintly, a pulse in the thick black. But it wasn't enough. The laughter morphed into a collective breath, an exhalation that consumed the air in the shed. "We can't wait forever." The nail strained under the intense pressure, but Emma pressed on, drawing the lines faster now, each stroke desperate. Suddenly, one of the shadows lunged, shimmering closer. "Play, play, play," it chanted, a chorus echoing in sick harmony. That a blast of exhilaration rushed through Emma as she finished the final strike. A flash illuminated the room, the symbol igniting a ghostly light that sliced through the darkness, enforcing a barrier. But it was too late. The shadows lunged, their claws reaching for the girls. "Get down," Emma yelled, instinct taking over. They dove toward the center of the star, just as the shadows struck against the barrier. The impact reverberated like thunder, and for a heartbeat, they were safe. The figures shrieked in rage, the sound piercing, ringing like a twisted melody. "We will tear you apart," echoed the monster, the girl's twisted face just inches from Emma's, a mix of fury and desperate yearning. "Is this really it?" Jenna whimpered, her body trembling. "What happens now?" The light flickered ominously, sending strange shadows dancing along the walls of the shed. The air thickened with tension as Emma felt the pulse of the symbol start to wane. Their temporary reprieve hung by a thread, trembling under the weight of the encroaching darkness. "I don't know," Emma cried, frustration clawing at her. "We have to think of something fast." Suddenly, the cackling quieted. The silhouettes leaned back, as if awaiting their next move, eyes glinting with a cruel anticipation. "Playtime isn't over, come find us." And with that, the shadows retreated, leaving only the fevered breaths of the girls in the trembling silence. "Where did they go?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "No idea," Emma said, turning to look at her friends. They were pale and wide-eyed, terror mirrored in their expressions. "But we can't stay here. We can't go back outside, either," Jenna stammered, her voice shaking. As uncertainty enveloped them, Emma felt something shift, a prickling sensation on the back of her neck. The darkness was watching. "We have to draw the symbol again," Emma suggested, desperation creeping in. But that's when Sarah noticed it. Just above the faint moonlight filtering through the shed's cracks, a small, hidden door, nearly blending into the wall. "Maybe it leads somewhere," she said, eyes wide with a mix of hope and dread. "But should we?" The shadows whispered again, their twisted voices weaving through the room. "You're running out of time." What lay behind that door? Could it hold their escape, or would it lead them deeper into the nightmare? Emma's heart raced, the choice weighing heavy on them all. "Do we open it?" Emma asked, every hair on her body bristling. And even as they huddled close, an answer loomed like a specter just out of reach. The silence pressed down heavily, wrapping around the girls like a smothering blanket. What lay behind that door? The flickering light cast ominous shadows, and the oppressive darkness seemed to seep into their minds, whispering doubts and fears. Jenna whispered, Maybe we should just stay here. We can wait them out. No. Emma shook her head, adrenaline coursing through her. We can't just sit here and let them come for us. We have to find a way out. But what if it's worse? Sarah's voice quivered, glancing fearfully at the door. An unsettling thought slipped into her mind. Was this another trick? A lure to pull them deeper into danger? Look, we can't let that darkness win. Emma pressed, her determination igniting the flickering hope that was fading fast. That door could be our way out. We have to try? Despite their fears, the girls gathered their courage. The shadows still lurked at the edges, holding their breath, waiting. Okay, Jenna finally murmured. On three. 3, 2, 1. Emma yanked the door open with a force that surprised her. The creaking hinges echoed through the shed, like a chorus of sinister laughter. What lay beyond stunned them. A narrow, dark staircase spiraled downward, where the concrete steps disappeared into an inky abyss. The air that wafted back up was cold, damp, and reeked of mold, something alive and teeming. Do we really want to go down there? Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I'd rather take my chances with the darkness than wait for those things to come back, Emma resolved, peering into the blackness. Maybe we can make a noise or something to distract them, Jenna suggested, her wide eyes searching for an escape tactic. No time, Emma insisted, heart pounding. They'll be back. We go now, or we don't go at all. Taking a deep breath, she clutched the metal nail tight, a makeshift talisman against whatever might be lurking below. One by one, they descended into the darkness. The light fading behind them made every echo sound sinister, every creak of wood above an ominous reminder of their vulnerability. The suffocating darkness enveloped them, and Emma felt her heart race. The air grew thick, pressing against their skin like a living thing. Why does it feel like we're being watched? Jenna uttered, her voice trembling as they moved deeper into the void. I don't know, Emma said, though a shiver danced down her spine. But we have to keep going. With each step, the rustling sounds in the shadows seemed to grow louder, punctuated by the whispers of the shadows, the mocking laughter reverberating off every wall. Playtime ISNT overfloated through the air like a taunt. Suddenly, an icy gust swirled around them, triggering primal instincts. Emma turned, heart hammering. Did you feel that? Maybe we should turn back, Sarah urged, her eyes wide, glancing behind them as if expecting the shadows to materialize from the gloom. No, we keep going, Emma said, though her voice wavered. Ahead, a faint glimmer of light broke through the darkness. Hope surged through Emma, propelling her forward. But the moment they emerged, that hope deflated like a punctured balloon. They stood in a dimly lit chamber, the walls adorned with scribbled symbols of fear, twisted faces, claw marks, and words that blurred into one overwhelming scream. In the center, a cracked mirror hung, surrounded by flickering candles. The reflection didn't reveal their actual forms. Instead, it showcased distorted images, twisted smiles, and sorrowful eyes that bore into their souls. It's a trap, Jenna breathed, backing away, but the shadows at the entrance shifted, closing off their escape. Run, Emma shouted, racing toward the far side of the chamber. But the moment they turned to flee, the mirror pulsated. A low growl emanated from within, reverberating against the stones. The girls paused, terror threading through them, frozen in place. The growl morphed into a booming laughter that echoed off the walls. Play with us, won't you? Came the voice, deep and sinister, an invitation laced with mockery. Emma felt sheer panic seize her. This was not just a game. They were in the lair of the very darkness they had feared, and there was nowhere left to run. Turn back, she yelled, mustering the last of her strength, but the shadows flickered, solidifying around them, hungry for destruction. What do we do? Sarah cried, fear spilling over as they faced the impossible. And then, from the depths of the mirror, shadows began to seep out, reaching with cold fingers, intertwining with their very core. The humiliating truth dawned, and Emma's heart sank. They were trapped, and no escape. No hope. That the darkness surged around them. A single thought came to Emma as she grasped Jenna and Sarah's hands, the shadows closing in. Playtime has just begun. What would the shadows demand of them next? The answer drowned in the horrific laughter, swallowing all reason whole. The shadows twisted and writhed, their shapes shifting as if taking form, pulsating with a terrible hunger. Emma clutched Jenna and Sarah's hands tighter, desperation flooding her. She couldn't let the shadows take them without a fight. But deep down, a chilling realization settled in. The mirror wasn't just a reflection, it was a portal, and they had trespassed into something far more sinister. "Why is it laughing?" Sarah gasped, straining to pull away but finding herself firmly anchored. The blackness around them thickened, coiling like serpents. From the depths of the mirror, distorted faces began to emerge, writhing and screeching, their mouths stretching into unnatural grins. The laughter echoed through the chamber, taunting and mocking. "Don't be afraid, we're just here to play," it purred, each word dripping with malice. Jenna's face paled, her eyes darting toward the walls plastered with anguished drawings. Each symbol seemed to pulse with life, feeding off their fear. "No, we have to get rid of it," Emma yelled, scanning fervently for anything they could use as a weapon against the encroaching terror. Shadows lashed out, grazing their skin with icy touches that sent shivers down their spines. Each brush of darkness felt like it pierced deeper than mere flesh, inviting despair into their very souls. "Look, the candles!" Jenna shouted, her voice rising above the cacophony of laughter. "If we extinguish those, maybe we can break the spell." Emma's heart raced as she turned her gaze to the candles flickering against the mirror's cold surface. But how? The shadows are everywhere. The floor beneath them trembled, and the cracks in the mirror widened. Glimmers of light danced around the edges, hinting at a refuge beyond the darkness. "We don't have a choice," Emma yelled, bolting toward the nearest candle as Jenna and Sarah reluctantly followed. With every step, the shadows lunged, lazy tendrils of darkness trying to ensnare them, but Emma leaped forward and grabbed the nearest candle. Clutching the burning wick tightly, she felt the heat radiate, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. "Together," Emma urged, turning toward her friends. On the count of 3, as they steadied themselves, an ominous low growl filled the air. The mirror seemed to shift, the horrid faces contorting as they stretched and twisted. 1, 2, 3. In unison, they thrust the candle toward the mirror. The flames clawed at the darkness, and for a moment, it shrieked an anguished cry that echoed through the room as it recoiled. But the relief was fleeting. The shadows raged, turning against them, and the mirror began to pulse violently, resonating with a force that pushed them back. The laughter escalated into a manic frenzy, filling the air with dread. "Keep going," Sarah shouted, choking back tears. But the swirling shadows retaliated. With a swift motion, they lashed out, snatching the candle from Emma's grip, extinguishing the flame in a cloud of darkness. The room plunged into consuming blackness, and only the haunting voices remained. Playtime as far from over the walls seemed to close in, marked with their desperation, as the reality of their situation sank in. Emma buckled, pulling Jenna and Sarah close as they stumbled back toward the mirror, now a swirling abyss of nightmares. As new shapes began to emerge, cruel and grotesque, Emma's heart raced. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a battle for their very souls against a darkness that relished in their fear. "What happens if we don't play?" Jenna whispered, her voice a quiver of hopelessness. The darkness giggled, low and sinister, wrapping around them like a noose. "Then you become the game." Suddenly, the mirror shimmered, revealing a twisted vision of their past, echoes of innocence lost playing out like a broken record. Emma's pulse quickened as she recognized moments from their lives' celebrations, laughter, and then shadows lurking at the corners. Even then, "Those are our fears," Emma yelled, panic mounting. "We have to face them." But as the figures in the mirror beckoned them with outstretched hands, shadows encircled tighter, whispering ancient secrets. "Will you join us, or will we join you?" "Your choice." The room spun, and as Emma squared her shoulders, ready to face their darkest fears, the shadows around them resolved into something tangible and deep, a sacrifice they couldn't yet comprehend. What would they need to give up to escape? The answer danced just out of reach, taunted by chilling laughter that felt like icy fingers gripping their necks as they braced for the oncoming storm. The question loomed heavy. Was it too late to reclaim their lost innocence? Or had their fate already been sealed in that mirror of horrors? Emma's breath hitched in her throat as the shadows shrieked, their icy determination clinging to her skin like a shroud. The mirror pulsed, each undulation threatening to pull them into its gaping maw. A cold fear settled into her bones, and she clenched Jenna and Sarah's hands tighter, their shared terror igniting a fire within her. Together, she cried, voice steady despite the chaos. There was no time for hesitation. They could not let the Whistler or whatever dark force thrived in the mirror consume them. They were stronger together, and they needed to fight back. Stepping forward, Emma squared her shoulders, heart racing with defiance. "We're not afraid of you," she shouted, channeling every ounce of courage into her declaration. The sinister laughter subsided, replaced by eerie silence. As if the shadows were unnerved by her boldness, Jenna's gaze flickered to the flickering candles, determination solidifying in her eyes. "We need to light them again. The flame can break their hold." "Yes, let us do it," Sarah chimed in, shaking off her fear as they moved toward the nearest unlit candle, the darkness swirling around their feet like a vengeful serpent. Emma grabbed the lighter from her pocket, her hand trembling but resolute. She flicked it on, the flame dancing to life. "This is our light," she whispered, and it felt like a spell in the darkness. The shadows recoiled, their whispering laughter turning into frightened hisses. On three, Emma rallied them again, her heart pounding as she raised the flaming candle high. 1, 2, 3. They pressed the burning candle against the mirror's surface. The glass sizzled where the flame met its dark magic. A high-pitched wail erupted, echoing through the chamber, shaking the very walls as the shadow forms writhed and contorted. "Keep going," Jenna urged as they lit candle after candle. Each flicker of flame lit the shadows on fire, sending them spiraling back. The once oppressive darkness began to dissipate, revealing walls adorned with cracked portraits of the children they had seen earlier, now twisted into remorseful faces, each tied to their own tremors of regret. "Do you see it?" Emma whispered, her heart racing. "They were trapped, just like us." Her mind flashed back to childhood games, the laughter that once filled their souls, now echoing in horror. Those kids, they could be freed. Sarah gasped, comprehension dawning like dawn breaking through a long night. "We can save them, too." The mirrors shattered under their combined will, each piece exploding into a torrent of light and colors. Emma reached for the remnants, the flickering flames of courage igniting the memories of happier days. "We have to let go of our fears and remember the joy we shared. Remember why we played those games in the first place." With newfound strength, the girls pressed their hands to the mirror shards, invoking not just their courage but the innocence they had fought so hard to protect. "We love each other," Jenna shouted, "and we will not let fear define us." The mirror exploded in a burst of light, washing over them like a cleansing wave. The shadows shrieked, forming into anguished faces that slowly crumbled into nothingness, their clutching tendrils dissolving into sparks of forgotten laughter. As the echoes of the Whistler's dark lullaby faded, a peaceful stillness enveloped the trio. Emma, Jenna, and Sarah stood firm, surrounded by shimmering remnants of light where the darkness had once ruled. They turned to see the children's spirits swirling around them, faces glowing with gratitude. "Thank you," a haunting voice whispered. It was soft yet powerful, full of hope. As the spirits dissolved into the night sky, one small figure smiled brightly, an innocent child, free at last from the Whistler's dark embrace. The darkness that had once threatened to consume them receded, replaced by a gentle luminescence. The air felt lighter, and for the first time that night, Emma felt an overwhelming sense of peace. As they stepped out of the shed into the cool night air, the laughter of children echoed faintly in the distance. Carefree and joyful, the harrowing weight of fear lifted off their shoulders, leaving behind only the warmth of their friendship, a bond forged in the fires of terror, yet tempered with love and understanding. "Did we really do it?" Sarah asked, disbelief etched across her face. "Yes," Emma nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "We faced our fears together, and that's what saved us." They linked arms, walking back toward the light of Emma's home, the darkness left behind as a whispered reminder of what they had overcome and what they had once been afraid to confront. As the door swung open, Emma glanced back, the warmth of camaraderie glimmering in her heart. The Whistler was gone, but the memory of that night would always remind them of the strength they found together, proving that love and friendship could conquer even the deepest darkness. And as the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, they felt ready for whatever tomorrow would bring. United as always, sisters in a world where stories weren't just told, but lived. Don't wait even one more second. You need to subscribe now to catch every twist and turn of our exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to show your support and feed the algorithm. And also, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to become part of our community. Your support makes all the difference.